The crimson glow of Aurora Prime's artificial sunset painted Marcus Kane's apartment in warm hues as he settled into his favorite chair with a cup of synthetic coffee. At 32, he had grown comfortable with the solitude that came with his work as a security specialist on the massive space station. The scars on his hands told stories of countless missions, while his steel-gray eyes had seen enough to make him value the quiet moments. Marcus ran his fingers through his auburn hair, still damp from the shower, and glanced at the holographic display showing the station's security status. All green lights, a rare occurrence that meant he might actually get a full night's sleep. The thought made him smile as he took another sip of his coffee, savoring the bitter warmth. The soft chime of his door's security alert interrupted his reverie. Marcus frowned, checking his chronometer. It was well past the hour when anyone from work would visit, and he wasn't expecting company. His hand instinctively moved to the plasma, pistol secured beneath his coffee table, as he activated the door's scanner. The holographic display materialized, showing a figure that made his breath catch. A woman stood in the corridor, but she was unlike any human he'd ever seen. Her skin held the luminescent quality of polished silver, catching and reflecting the station's ambient lighting in mesmerizing patterns. Long, midnight black hair cascaded over her shoulders, contrasting beautifully with her ethereal complexion. But it was her eyes that truly captivated him, a deep violet that seemed to hold the mysteries of distant galaxies. She wore an elegant dress that appeared to be woven from starlight itself, shimmering and shifting with each subtle movement. Despite her obvious alien heritage, there was something achingly familiar about her posture, the way she held her head, the determined set of her shoulders. Marcus hesitated for only a moment before opening the door, his hand still within reach of his weapon. "Can I help you?" The woman's violet eyes met his, and he saw recognition flash across her features. When she spoke, her voice carried a melodic quality that seemed to resonate in his very bones. "Marcus Kane," she said, and somehow his name sounded like music on her lips. "I know this will be difficult to believe, but my name is Zara Nightwhisper. I'm your sister." The words hit him like a physical blow. Marcus felt his world tilt on its axis, the coffee cup slipping from his suddenly nerveless fingers to shatter on the floor. "That's impossible," he managed, his voice hoarse. "I don't have a sister." Zara stepped closer, her violet eyes filled with an emotion he couldn't quite identify. "Half-sister," she corrected gently. "We share the same mother." Marcus, Elena Kane. The mention of his mother's name sent a jolt of pain through his chest. Elena had died when he was barely 18, killed in what the authorities had claimed was a transport accident. The loss had shaped him, driven him to become the man he was today, cautious, self-reliant, always expecting the worst. "My mother died alone," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. "She never mentioned having another child." Zara's expression grew sad, and she reached into a small bag at her side to withdraw a holographic projector. With practiced ease, she activated it, and suddenly the space between them was filled with images. Marcus gasped as he recognized his mother's face, younger than he remembered, standing beside a tall, elegant man whose silver skin and violet eyes marked him as belonging to the same species as Zara. "This is my father, Ambassador Theron Nightwhisper, of the ethereal realm," Zara explained, her voice soft with memory. "He and your mother met during the Treaty of Andromeda negotiations 25 years ago. Their love affair was complicated." Marcus stared at the holographic images, watching his mother smile with a joy he'd rarely seen in their time together. "She was investigating something," he said suddenly, memories flooding back. In the months before she died, she was always working late, always worried about something she couldn't talk about. "Yes," Zara nodded, her silver skin seeming to glow with inner light. "She was investigating illegal genetic experiments being conducted by a shadow organization within the Galactic Council. Experiments that involved combining human and alien DNA to create hybrid soldiers. The revelation struck Marcus like a thunderbolt. "You're saying she was murdered?" "I'm saying she discovered something that powerful people wanted to keep hidden," Zara replied, her violet eyes hardening. "And when she wouldn't stop digging, they eliminated her." Marcus found himself studying Zara's face, searching for any resemblance to the woman who had raised him. Despite their different species, he could see it now, the stubborn set of her jaw, the way she tilted her head when she was thinking, the fierce intelligence that burned behind her eyes. "Why come to me now?" he asked. "Why after all these years?" Zara's composure cracked slightly, and for a moment she looked younger, more vulnerable. "Because they're coming for me too. The same people who killed our mother have discovered that. I've been continuing her investigation. I've been gathering evidence, following leads, but I can't do this alone anymore. I need someone I can trust, someone with your skills." Marcus felt the familiar weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Throughout his life, he'd been the one people turned to when they needed protection, when they needed someone to stand between them and danger. But this was different. This was family. "What kind of evidence?" he asked. Zara reached into her bag again, this time producing a data crystal that pulsed with an inner light. Names, dates, locations. Proof of what they did to countless innocent beings. But more importantly, proof of what they're planning to do next. The crystal seemed to call to him, and Marcus reached out to take it, his fingers brushing against Zara's in the process. The contact sent a shock of warmth through him, and he realized that despite everything, the impossibility of the situation, the danger it represented, he believed her. "There's something else," Zara continued, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "Something about my identity that I haven't told you. Something that makes this even more dangerous than you realize." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, the lights in his apartment flickered, and his security system began blaring warnings. The holographic display showed multiple armed figures moving through the station's corridors, all heading in their direction. "They found me," Zara breathed, her silver skin paling to an almost translucent shade. Marcus was already moving, his training taking over. He grabbed his emergency pack and weapons, then turned to Zara. "Is there anywhere safe we can go?" "I have a contact," she said, her violet eyes wide with fear and determination. "Someone who's been helping me. But we need to move now." As they prepared to flee, Marcus couldn't help but think that his quiet life had just become infinitely more complicated. But looking at Zara, seeing the mixture of courage and vulnerability in her ethereal features, he knew he wouldn't have it any other way. Family was family, regardless of species, and he'd be damned if he'd let anyone hurt his sister. The sound of footsteps in the corridor outside grew closer, and Marcus took Zara's hand in his. "Stay close," he whispered. "We're going to get through this." As they slipped out through the emergency exit, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Whatever secrets Zara was hiding, whatever conspiracy had killed their mother, he was now part of it. And somewhere in the back of his mind, he wondered about this contact of hers, this person who had been helping her investigate their mother's death. The station's corridors stretched out before them, filled with shadows and the promise of danger, but also, perhaps, the promise of answers. And maybe, just maybe, the chance to finally understand the truth about the woman who had shaped both. There lives, even from beyond the grave. Marcus squeezed Zara's hand reassuringly as they made their way through the maze of passages. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. After all, they were family and in a universe full of mysteries. And dangers. That was the most powerful bond of all. The maintenance tunnels beneath Aurora Prime hummed with the constant thrum of the station's life support systems. Marcus led the way through the narrow passages, his emergency pack secure across his shoulders, while Zara followed close behind, her silver skin providing an ethereal glow in the dim lighting. They had been moving for nearly an hour, taking a circuitous route through the station's forgotten arteries to avoid their pursuers. How much further? Marcus whispered, pausing at an intersection where 3 tunnels converged. Zara consulted. A holographic map projected from a device on her wrist. The Serenity Gardens are just ahead. Celeste should be waiting for us. The name sparked curiosity in Marcus, but he pushed it aside, focusing on their immediate safety. The sound of distant footsteps echoed through the tunnels behind them, a reminder that their enemies were still searching. They emerged into what had once been a botanical research facility, now converted into a private sanctuary. The Serenity Gardens stretched before them like something from a dream, towering bioluminescent. Trees created natural archways, while floating lily pads drifted through the air, their petals glowing with soft amber light. Crystalline streams flowed upward in defiance of gravity, their waters singing with harmonious frequencies. Marcus had never seen anything so beautiful, and for a moment he forgot about the danger they were in. The air itself seemed alive, carrying the scent of exotic flowers, and something else, something that made his pulse quicken without him understanding why. "Welcome to my sanctuary," a voice said from somewhere among the floating gardens. Marcus turned toward the sound and felt his breath catch in his throat. A woman emerged from behind a curtain of hanging vines, and she was the most captivating being he had ever seen. Her skin held the pale luminescence of moonlight, with intricate patterns of silver and gold that seemed to shift and dance across her features. Her hair was the color of starlight, a shimmering white gold that moved as if it had a life of its own. But it was her eyes that truly mesmerized him, deep pools of cosmic blue that seemed to hold the wisdom of ancient galaxies. She wore a flowing dress that appeared to be woven from liquid light, and she moved with a grace that seemed to bend the very air around her. When their eyes met, Marcus felt something electric pass between them, a connection that went beyond the physical, as if his soul recognized hers. "Marcus," Zara said softly, "this is Celeste Moonvale. She's the one who's been helping me investigate our mother's death." Celeste stepped closer, and Marcus caught her scent like night-blooming jasmine and distant stars. "So you're Elena's son," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that made his skin tingle. "I can see her strength in your eyes, her determination in the way you carry yourself." "You knew my mother?" Marcus asked, struggling to maintain his composure, despite the immediate attraction he felt. "I knew of her work," Celeste replied, gesturing for them to follow her deeper into the garden. Elena Kane was investigating something that threatened the very fabric of interstellar society. She was braver than most realized. They settled in a secluded grove where the ambient light was softer, more intimate. Celeste activated a holographic display that filled the space around them with documents, images, and data streams. Marcus found himself sitting closer to her than necessary, drawn by her presence in a way he couldn't explain. "Your mother discovered evidence of illegal genetic experiments," Celeste began, her cosmic blue eyes reflecting the holographic light. "A shadow organization within the Galactic Council was combining human and alien DNA to create hybrid being soldiers who could serve as perfect spies and assassins." Zara leaned forward, her violet eyes intense. The experiments weren't just about creating weapons. They were trying to breed a new race that would be loyal only to them beings who could pass for human or alien, depending on the situation. Marcus studied the evidence floating before them. "These test subjects," he said, pointing to a series of medical files. "What happened to them?" Celeste's expression grew sad. "Most didn't survive the process. The few who did were ... changed. Their biology became unstable, their lifespans shortened. They were discarded like broken tools." As she spoke, Marcus noticed how her patterns of light seemed to pulse with her emotions. There was something mesmerizing about the way her skin responded to her feelings, and he found himself watching the subtle changes with fascination. The organization calls itself the Synthesis, Zara continued. They believe that the future of the galaxy depends on their ability to control evolution itself. They saw humans as the perfect base species because of your adaptability. And they killed our mother because she was going to expose them, Marcus concluded, anger building in his chest. Elena had gathered enough evidence to bring down the entire operation, Celeste said, her hand moving to rest on Marcus's arm. The contact sent warmth spreading through his body, and he saw her eyes widen slightly, as if she had felt it too. But before she could present it to the authorities, she was eliminated. Marcus looked at Zara and back at Celeste. Why are you helping us? What's your connection to all this? Celeste hesitated, her cosmic blue eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his heart race. I have my own reasons for wanting to see the Synthesis destroyed. They've taken things from me, people I cared about. The way she said it made Marcus want to reach out to her, to offer comfort, but something in her expression warned him that there were depths to her story she wasn't ready to share. There's more, Zara said, drawing their attention back to the holographic display. We've discovered that the Synthesis isn't just continuing their experiments, they're accelerating them. They're preparing for something big. Celeste manipulated the display, bringing up a series of recent documents. Intelligence suggests they're planning to infiltrate the upcoming Galactic Unity Summit. With hybrids placed in key positions, they could manipulate the treaty negotiations to their advantage. Marcus felt the pieces clicking together. They want to control the entire galaxy's political structure, and they'll eliminate anyone who stands in their way, Zara added grimly. The implications were staggering. Marcus looked at his sister, then at Celeste, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What do you need from me? Your skills, Celeste said, her voice soft but determined. Your knowledge of security systems, your ability to move unseen. We need to gather more evidence, but the files are hidden in locations that require someone with your expertise to access. As she spoke, Marcus found himself studying the delicate patterns of light that played across her features. There was something about her that called to him on a fundamental level, something that made him want to protect her, to be close to her. There's something else, Zara said, glancing between Marcus and Celeste with knowing eyes. Something about my identity. That makes this situation even more complex. Before she could explain, alarms began blaring throughout the garden sanctuary. Celeste's expression turned serious as she accessed her security systems. They've found us, she said, her patterns of light shifting to deep blues and purples. The Synthesis has tracked us here. Marcus was already moving, his protective instincts kicking in. How many? At least a dozen, Celeste replied, her fingers dancing over holographic controls. They're surrounding the facility. Is there another way out? Marcus asked, moving closer to both women. Celeste nodded toward a hidden passage behind a waterfall. There's an emergency tunnel that connects to the old mining shafts. But it's dangerous. The passages haven't been maintained in years. Better than facing armed agents, Marcus said grimly. As they gathered their equipment, Marcus caught Celeste's hand in his. The contact sent electricity through both of them, and he saw her breath catch. Stay close to me, he said softly. I won't let anything happen to you. Her cosmic blue eyes searched his face, and he saw something vulnerable there, something that made him want to pull her into his arms. Marcus, she whispered, there are things about me you don't know. Things that might change how you feel. Try me, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Before she could respond, the sound of energy weapons discharging echoed through the garden. Their pursuers had breached the outer perimeter. We need to go, Zara urged, but Marcus could see the knowing look in her violet eyes. She had noticed the connection between him and Celeste, the way they seemed drawn to each other, despite the danger surrounding them. As they fled through the hidden passage, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his life was changing in ways he couldn't have imagined. The woman beside him, this mysterious, beautiful being who had been helping his sister, was becoming important to him in ways that went beyond mere attraction. The tunnel ahead was dark and uncertain, much like their future. But with Celeste's hand in his and Zara at their side, Marcus felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They were no longer just investigating a conspiracy. They were fighting for their lives, their freedom, and maybe, just maybe, for something even more precious. Love, he realized, had a way of blooming even in the darkest places. The abandoned mining tunnels beneath Aurora Prime stretched endlessly into darkness, their walls carved from raw asteroid stone that glittered with traces of precious metals. Marcus led the way through the narrow passages, his emergency beacon, casting dancing shadows on the rough surfaces. Behind him, Celeste's natural luminescence provided a soft, ethereal glow that made the journey feel less like an escape and more like a dream. They had been walking for hours, putting distance between themselves and their pursuers. The immediate danger had passed, but the tension between Marcus and Celeste had only grown stronger. Every accidental touch as they navigated the narrow passages sent sparks through both of them, and Marcus found himself constantly aware of her presence beside him. "There's a safe house up ahead," Zara said, consulting her holographic map. An old research station that was abandoned after the mining operations ceased. "We should be able to rest there." The station turned out to be a cluster of pressurized chambers connected by sealed corridors. The air recyclers still functioned, though the lighting was dim and the furnishings sparse. Marcus activated the security systems, while Celeste began setting up their temporary base of operations. "I'll take the first watch," Zara announced, settling near the main entrance with her equipment. "You two should get some rest. We have a long journey ahead of us tomorrow." Marcus caught the meaningful look his sister gave him and felt heat rise in his cheeks. The attraction between him and Celeste had become impossible to ignore, and apparently it was just as obvious to outside observers. Celeste had moved to the far end of the main chamber, where a large viewport showed the star-filled void beyond. The asteroid. She stood silhouetted against the cosmic backdrop, her pale skin glowing softly in the darkness. Marcus approached her slowly, drawn by her ethereal beauty and the sadness he sensed in her posture. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said without turning around. "The stars have always been my comfort. No matter what happens, they remain constant." "You sound like someone who's needed comfort often," Marcus said softly, coming to stand beside her. Celeste turned to face him, her cosmic blue eyes reflecting the starlight. "There's something I need to tell you, Marcus. Something about what I am." The seriousness in her voice made him step closer. "Whatever it is, it doesn't change how I feel about you." A sad smile touched her lips. "You don't know what you're saying. You don't know what I am." "Then tell me," he said, reaching up to cup her face gently. The contact made her patterns of light shimmer with deeper blues and purples. Celeste leaned into his touch, her eyes closing for a moment. When she opened them again, they were filled with vulnerability and fear. "I'm one of them, Marcus. One of the hybrids created by the synthesis." The words hit him like a physical blow, but he didn't pull away. Instead, he studied her face, seeing the pain and shame she was trying to hide. "Tell me," he said again, his voice gentle. "I was created 23 years ago," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "A combination of human, ethereal, and Lumarian DNA. I was meant to be the perfect infiltrator able to pass for human when necessary, but possessing abilities that made me valuable as an asset." Marcus felt anger building in his chest, but not at her. At the people who had treated her like a tool, who had created her for their own purposes. What happened? I was one of the few who survived the process, Celeste continued, her patterns of light shifting to deeper, more troubled hues. But I was unstable. My biology, it's not meant to exist. I age differently. I heal differently. I'm not supposed to be able to form lasting emotional connections. And yet here you are, Marcus said, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her cheek. Helping my sister, fighting against the people who created you. Your mother saved me, Celeste said, tears beginning to form in her cosmic blue eyes. When the synthesis ordered all the hybrid subjects terminated, Alana Kane smuggled me out. She helped me create a new identity, gave me a chance at a real life. The revelation added another layer to Marcus's understanding of his mother's courage. Not only had she been investigating the conspiracy, but she had risked everything to save an innocent life. She told me that everyone deserves a chance at happiness, Celeste continued. That love isn't about what species you are or how you came to exist. It's about the choices you make and the connections you form. Marcus pulled her closer, feeling the warmth that radiated from her skin. She was right. But Marcus, Celeste said, her voice breaking, I'm not supposed to be able to love. The emotional dampeners they built into my DNA were supposed to prevent lasting attachments. Yet from the moment I saw you, I felt something I've never experienced before. He could see the confusion and wonder in her eyes, the way she looked at him as if he were some kind of miracle. What do you feel? He asked. Like I'm complete, she whispered. Like all the broken pieces of myself are finally fitting together. Is this what love feels like? Instead of answering with words, Marcus leaned down and captured her lips in a kiss that was tender and passionate at once. Celeste's entire body seemed to come alive beneath his touch, her skin glowing with patterns of gold and silver that pulsed in rhythm with their shared heartbeat. When they finally parted, both were breathing heavily. If that's not love, Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion, then it's something even more powerful. Celeste's patterns of light had shifted to warm golds and soft whites, and Marcus realized that her bioluminescence was responding to her emotions, becoming more beautiful as she felt happier and more secure. There's more, she said, her hands resting on his chest. The hybrid DNA isn't just about physical abilities. It creates a kind of resonance with certain people, a biochemical attraction that goes beyond normal parameters. Is that what this is? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. Partly, Celeste admitted, but it's more than that. The resonance can only occur with someone who's truly compatible, someone whose emotional and spiritual essence matches yours. It's not just attraction, Marcus, it's recognition. He pulled her even closer, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him. Then we're meant to be together. The synthesis would say I'm malfunctioning, Celeste said with a laugh that was part joy, part sadness. That my emotional dampeners have failed, and I'm exhibiting unstable behavior. Then thank the stars for malfunctions, Marcus said, pressing his forehead against hers. They stood together in the starlight, holding each other as if they could keep the universe at bay through sheer force of will. Marcus had never felt anything like this, a connection that seemed to transcend the physical and touch something deeper, something eternal. Marcus, Zara's voice called from across the chamber. We have a problem. Reluctantly, they broke apart and moved to where Zara was monitoring her communication equipment. Her violet eyes were troubled as she looked up at them. I've been monitoring synthesis communications, she said. They're not just looking for us anymore. They're preparing for something bigger. What kind of something? Marcus asked, though he was still distracted by Celeste's presence beside him. The Galactic Unity Summit isn't just a target, Zara explained. It's a trap. They're planning to use it to reveal my true identity to the entire galaxy. Marcus frowned. What do you mean, your true identity? Zara took a deep breath, her silver skin seeming to shimmer with nervous energy. I haven't been entirely honest with you, brother. I'm not just Ambassador Night Whisper's daughter. I'm his heir. I'm the crown princess of the ethereal realm. The revelation hit Marcus like a thunderbolt. His half-sister wasn't just alien nobility. She was royalty of one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. The synthesis wants to use me, Zara continued. They want to force me into a position where I'll have to choose between exposing them and protecting the ethereal realm. They've arranged for me to be betrothed to Prince Orion Starweaver of the Crystal Dominion as part of a political alliance. Betrothed? Marcus asked, incredulous. It's a marriage I never agreed to, Zara said quickly. But if I refuse publicly at the summit, it could destabilize the entire region. The synthesis is counting on me staying silent to protect innocent lives. Celeste moved closer to Marcus, her patterns of light shifting to protective blues and purples. They're using your sister as leverage, she said. If she exposes them, they'll claim she's trying to destabilize galactic peace. If she doesn't, they'll continue their experiments with impunity. Marcus felt the weight of the situation settling on his shoulders. Not only were they fighting a conspiracy that had killed their mother, but they were also trying to prevent a political crisis that could affect billions of lives. There has to be another way, he said, reaching for Celeste's hand. The contact steadied him, gave him strength. There is, Zara said, her violet eyes filled with determination. But it's dangerous. We need to infiltrate the synthesis base and gather enough evidence to expose them publicly. With proof of their crimes, I can reveal the truth without appearing to be a destabilizing force. Where is their base? Celeste asked. That's the problem, Zara replied. It's hidden in the Veil Nebula, protected by some of the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. We'll need help to get inside.